Well, good afternoon. I'm Andrew Paradise. I'm the CEO and founder of Aislebuyer. And what I want to talk to you today about is the future of mobile commerce. And I guess I'll start with my conjecture, which is that 2009 and 2010 were really the years of the check-in. And what we're about to enter in 2011 and 2012 are the years of the checkout. Before I dive in, just talk a little bit about what I'm going to present today. So what is mobile commerce? What are the biggest problems in stores today? And how can we solve them with mobile commerce? Examining the mobile checkout versus the mobile check-in. And then looking at how to measure ROI. So there are three things about mobile phones that I think are truly unique and that were so exciting to me that I moved from being a web entrepreneur into building a mobile business after selling my first company. And those three things were that mobile phones are truly unique. So unlike IP addresses, we're resolving down to an individual. And studies have shown that less than 5% of cell phone usage is shared usage. So in general, it's one device or several devices per person. The second part is that the phone is always on. People tend to have a behavior pattern, especially with smartphones, where they plug in their phone before they go to bed, often use the phone as an alarm clock, and then wake up with their phone in the morning. So unlike the computer chip in your brain in the future in a lot of sci-fi movies, perhaps it's just a mobile phone that we always carry with us because it's more convenient and more useful than even our wallets. Another study actually showed that a higher percentage of people now are more willing to turn around and go back to their house if they forget their mobile phone than their wallet. So that's pretty interesting. So now we have always on, individual people, and then the last one is that it is more of a phenomenon in smartphones. They're location-aware devices. And I think this is really what's led to the proliferance of check-in applications, everything from Foursquare to now Facebook offering you the ability to promote where you are in the world. And it's certainly interesting and certainly a facet of location-based services, exposing a service in and of itself for that reason. But I think the future of location-based services is far wider than just saying I'm at Starbucks around the corner. So what is mobile commerce? Mobile commerce, and I love definitions, so you have to apologize or bear with me. Mobile commerce, according to Wikipedia, is any transaction involving the ownership or rights to use goods or services, transferring them to another individual or person that's initiated or completed using a mobile device. The reason I like to think about that definition is I think mobile commerce, as it's been born, has really been about taking a web experience and then simply transporting it across to a mobile device. One of the things I'll talk to you today about is how there's so much more that can be done with mobile devices beyond simply representing a website in a mobile-friendly format. So these are some of the early entrants into mobile commerce. Everything from mobile testing, mobile ticketing. My eyesight's a little bad here. Too much computer usage. Mobile coupons, mobile loyalty, content purchases. All these different facets of mobile commerce, as they exist today, have really been about porting across web experiences and optimizing for phones. One of the things that we think is really important at Aislebuyer is looking at how mobile commerce in retail is much more than just mobile couponing individually, mobile loyalty, mobile storefronts, or mobile purchasing. It's really the complete consumer-facing experience and tying together that initial conversion funnel, which might start with something like a Foursquare or GoWalla or MyTown, and initiating from the point when the person enters the store or has been drawn into the commerce experience, converting them all the way through, and then even using repeat purchasing behavior using loyalty on mobile phones. So our conjecture at Aislebuyer is that mobile commerce in general and the individual facets is much larger than just location-based services, and that in the future, location-based services will just be a facet of another application you're already using. Not so much promoting a check-in as using mobile for another purpose like getting a discount, your loyalty card, or maybe even paying in the middle of a store. So when we started the company, we were really looking at what were the problems we could solve in traditional retail. rewind a little bit, I've been a developer all my life. Was actually involved in a e-commerce project that I was helping build out in the early days of 2009, and happened to be doing a little traditional shopping, and thought about what is the future of being able to combine the in-store experience with the online experience. It all culminated in a day when I was standing at a Best Buy store comparing two memory cards in the aisle, and with my original iPhone, Googling the two different cards to see which one would be better. Back then, the first thing that would happen when you Googled a product is Amazon's search result would pop up, and of course we all know there's reviews on there, so if you're searching for reviews and can't find a store associate, you're going to click through. The aha moment came from there, where we said, well, all of a sudden, hundreds of years of experience, store formatting, merchandising, that's all been put together in a retail brick-and-mortar format has been bypassed by this portal that you're carrying in your pocket. And I can't imagine that the retailers or the CPGs that have spent billions and billions of dollars trying to control that experience so that we'll purchase the right products are happy about that. So what that all leads to is abandonment. People end up leaving the items or goods in the aisle, sometimes abandoning at the register, or maybe not even going to the store. One study we like to talk a lot about is a Motorola study that is now in its third year. I really encourage you to go and check it out. They've put a lot of money into researching the reasons that people abandon in store. So this is actually the 2010 stat showing that about 28% of real-world visits ended in abandonment last holiday season. The top 6 reasons for abandonment are people are not happy with the displays. They have difficulty finding a store associate. I'm sorry, I have a little trouble reading that, but they have trouble finding information or price. They have difficulty checking out, or even the item is out of stock. Remarkably, the highest number on that chart is that the item's not in stock. And one of the things that I think that can be solved with the future of mobile commerce is this concept of uniting online inventory with in-store inventory and allowing consumers to have this endless aisle experience in store. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get a little further along. So checkout versus check-in. Who are the check-in players? The obvious ones are Facebook, Foursquare, perhaps MyTown. More nascent ones that we think a lot about are Shopkick, Scavenger. You may or may not have heard of these companies, but a lot of the core functionality is relatively similar insofar as the check-in. You're able to hit a button, say I'm here in whatever location, access your location services, and then broadcast that to your social network. Sometimes even for coupons or rewards. Why do retailers have interest in check-in? I think it has to do a lot with the same reason retailers have interest in loyalty. The reality of it is when you do a check-in, you have the opportunity to reward that user for checking in much in the same way as you do with the loyalty card. And I think the really interesting thing is that almost lead generation tools such as these to drive foot traffic in store are really going to start to mesh and merge into checkout applications like these. So these are the early entrants into mobile commerce today. We often think of some of the brands on this slide as having the best mobile commerce experience in an app format. And just to back up and caveat, the reason we focus so much internally on apps as opposed to mobile web experiences is that we believe the future of the web will be decided by either apps or HTML5. Either one of those sets of functionality will be far broader than what's currently possible with mobile commerce today. And so the reason we built a business around doing app development and building out very powerful app experiences is those apps today are the only way to access certain native services on these phones. Other players that are in the checkout space have really done more of a private label in-house build, such as Best Buy or Target. They certainly have, and Home Depot also, I should say, have among the most built-out mobile commerce experiences, allowing you to do everything from browsing a catalog on your phone to actually checking out off of their e-commerce property. Now, the really interesting thing for those top 3 retailers is that 95% of all commerce in the U.S. today is still in-store. 5% is online. So everyone makes a big deal out of the impending battle between the Amazons and Walmarts of the world, but the skew is certainly in favor of Walmart. For all three of those Fortune 500 companies, it's very interesting to think about how they've entered their mobile strategy, initially looking at how to represent their web property in a better format. And really the genesis of that is that a tremendous amount of people are going to these retailers' websites today, and whether or not there's a mobile experience, they're trying to conduct commerce. Because there's no value offering there, the consumer is often abandoned. So it's dealing with the immediate problem, but I think not looking at the broader set of what mobile can do. So what do users want from these mobile experiences? Interaction, education, loyalty integration, value, rewards, convenience, but overall a seamless consumer experience where the growing number of people actually expect that the in-store experience, the e-commerce experience, and the mobile experience should be completely flawless. They don't understand why the .com is not at all similar to the mobile experience, and they arrive there on their handset and often end up disappointed. In terms of services that can be provided on mobile phones, this is a list that we put together of kind of check-in versus check-out feature sets. I think there's actually a much broader amount of possible opportunities. I was even sitting at lunch today, and one of the other attendees here at the conference has a very interesting image recognition technology for allowing you to have a user scan almost an image and then instantly send you to a video or other destination, similar to a QR code. But I think the reality is that these kinds of services are growing in terms of what's possible right now today and who's providing these services. Why does it all matter? I think I talked a little bit about this a second ago, but I'll talk about the stat now. So a study actually was recently released, I think it was also published in the New York Times, about how 85% of shoppers expect a mobile experience on their phones. Again, there's no comprehension behind why. I know in the room people might even wonder and say, that's crazy. But on your smartphone, having the same experience and fluid kind of shopping experience that you have on your computer. And the amazing part is that less than 7% of the Fortune 500 now have apps. There's actually a stat that was brought up at the National Retail Federation last year that stated that I think it was 3% of Fortune 500 retailers had an application, but that number was set to grow to over 10% by year end. Certainly, the technology adoption rate in brick and mortar retail has been a lot slower than a lot of folks would like or anticipate. I would actually point out, though, that it is remarkable seeing major retailers making heavy investments, such as Target and Best Buy, into mobile commerce. And definitely, one thing we've seen internally is that in the last, call it 2 years, from when we started selling into U.S. retail to today, almost every Fortune 500 retailer has gone from perhaps no mobile strategy, no applications, so forth, to mobile strategies, significant teams. I can comment on a few that have actually multiple mobile teams. And mobile has taken a front seat in a lot of these organizations as a critical opportunity and also a potential problem. And the reason that is that there are, on the other side, a lot of e-commerce players that are moving into the offline space. For example, people in the room might be familiar with Red Laser or Shop Savvy or now Amazon. And all of these online retailers have started providing barcode scanning tools so that the consumer can walk into a store. If the line's long, if any of those 6 reasons might cause abandonment, they'll pull out their phone, they'll zap the item, and they'll buy it off the internet and have it shipped home. Maybe even same-day shipping with Amazon or next day for free. It's certainly a big problem when 2 different research groups independently found that about 40% of smartphone users are actually conducting some kind of comparison shopping practice in aisle. And more remarkably, almost 20% of that 40 are actually completing the purchase off their phone. Obviously not in the store because, again, there are no retailers really offering in-store shopping experiences today. So why do people check in? I commented a little bit on this one, but the rewards, the loyalty, promoting that I'm here. It's certainly, to some extent, it started off, I think, as a fad. Whether or not it's going to be an ongoing trend or not is a great question, and I think a lot of people are interested in. A lot of marketers are very interested in seeing how they can capture some of that foot traffic and drive it into their retail locations. The interesting thing that we think about a lot at Aislebuyer is what will happen with this technology, and who are those people that are going into stores and checking in. One of the things we found from doing various research is almost 80% of the audience that's doing the check-in is male between 18 and 35. Call them the techno-savvy group who are attracted to trying this. And again, the other interesting thing is the leader in the category has had about 2% adoption in the largest city in the US, which is New York City. So again, when we're dealing with the Fortune 500 retailers that we work with, in order to get to meaningful numbers, they really are interested in only looking at things where more than 10 million people have started doing the activity. So some of these are just starting to get to the cusp of that, and I think because of that, it's very interesting to think about if the future of retail is going to be about third-party applications kind of removing the branding element from the retail experience. How will that lead gen translate into a sustainable practice for that brand? So there we go. Why do people check out? So some of the checkout applications, everything from being able to pop into utility applications like the Target experience and find a store near you, being able to instantly dial and ask for directions or even map it. The checkout experience is much more about utility and about delivering a better way to do your current activities faster. I think that's one of the things that's different from the check-in value prop, is that it's not so much something new for consumers as much as helping them do something they're already trying to do a lot more quickly. We were a little self-serving in putting ourselves on there as well, but we are actually the first mobile self-checkout company in the world. So we've been lucky to be very early in a market that now, as far as we know, has 9 entrants and what looks like dozens more on the way. So I think in the next 2 years, you're going to see a proliferation of checkout companies that will be offering some kind of in-store shopping tool for retail all the way through to CPG. Check-in coupons. One of the reasons we like to look at this is probably the most popular format for driving check-in adoption, whether it's Shopkick or Foursquare. The growing idea of allowing a third-party application to deliver that reward or incentive to the consumer when they come in is very interesting. Usually, it's an offer for a frequent user. The culmination of that, of course, is the mayor or the person who checks in most frequently. Overall, the sustainability of these practices is certainly something that we're very interested in and examining constantly. And I'll talk in a minute about some of the ways that we've been looking at how to measure the value and the ROI behind check-ins. So checkout coupons. One of the reasons we're very interested in checkout is because the biggest problem today in couponing is how do you create redemption, how do you track redemption, and how do you credit the relative parties. The payment piece of redemption is a nightmare. It's actually crazy enough to me that in kind of exploring this market, what we found out was that all of the paper coupons, and if you don't know this, I'm going to just tell you the story. There are actually 2 different major facilities in Mexico where all of the paper coupons in the US are shipped, and then they're individually counted at one facility and then shipped across to a second facility where they're double counted. And the reason they do that is because the manufacturers and the retailers need to reconcile their numbers and make sure that neither side is cheating on the payments. As you can imagine, in a digital world, as probably everyone in this room is in, it seems very antiquated. So the checkout value prop is being able to create a framework where anything from coupons.com to the hundreds of mobile players are now able to plug into an existing retailer application and provide that digital coupon, and then be able to track redemption through and report that back to whatever brands or advertisers they're involved with. At least our company, the way we play in this space is very much around allowing a retailer to provide a framework so that mobile operators in that couponing space can operate more easily. if you look at a company like Groupon or any of the major sites of that nature, their biggest problem in going into mass retail is being able to bring down the cost of redemption. Currently, they have problems, just like any paper coupon operator, with tracking redemption. So Checkin Loyalty, the overall idea behind Checkin Loyalty is, again, very much driving this kind of third-party adoption of applications in store. One of the things that I think we've really remarked on in the last year or so in working with big retail is that a number of retailers are actually training consumers and their staff and store associates on how to use tools like Foursquare, which seems very strange to companies like us, because it really is putting a third-party operator in control of that user when they're in your store. And the whole idea behind, at least Aislebuyer and the way we look at the mobile commerce world, is about trying to recapture some of that control by creating a value offering for your consumer. If the retailer is going to invest in point-of-sale integrations for mobile couponing, going to invest in training staff, wouldn't it make sense to start with their own application, their own experience? And certainly I think there's a big future in check-ins and so forth. But again, to go back to the kind of loyalty and the adoption numbers behind Checkin, it seems like there's a lot of buzz without necessarily the strong ROI and value prop. So check out loyalty. So integrated marketing programs that can ensure basically loyalty across, and both loyalty across all of the consumers with the mobile phones, but also having loyalty really be kind of a background service. So again, looking at the way things currently exist, loyalty is an extra step for every consumer. They're pulling out that barcode that they carry in their wallet, maybe that ring of barcodes, and they're having it scanned at the register. The best loyalty program, or perhaps most widely adopted, I should say, is CVS. They have about 90 million cards out there. It's amazing the power of having that loyalty card being pervasive across a large group of users, being able to track that behavior, reward those individuals. But the thing that's really remarkable about loyalty and checkout is being able to move the loyalty and the rewards and all of the things that you can do if you have identified the user to happen before the user gets to the end of the shopping experience. Right now, when by the time you identify the shopper, they're on their way out the door again. And I think that's a big drawback with loyalty as it currently stands, and one of the advantages of checkout loyalty. So ROI, we have a little joke here, but just give you guys a second to read that. So don't bother me with the buzzwords. It's certainly something that happened in the web and is again happening in mobile. And you may all be looking and saying that guy's too young to know anything about the web, but I've actually grown up in 8 tech companies. So 6 of the family tech companies were all web companies, and one of my own were web-based businesses. And it's really interesting to think about how each of these tools launched into the major kind of Fortune 500 world. I always think of if you ever have a chance to punch into the Wayback Machine, and I'm going to pick on them because they once did in my presence, but if you go and look up Pepsi's website, it's really very funny to see the very first version of Pepsi's website in 1996. To their credit, they're one of the first 100 websites out there. But it wasn't so much about generating ROI, it was really about doing something, test and learn, we'll try anything. And in the same way, I think a lot of the mobile initiatives currently happening are very much, let's throw stuff out there. We need to try, we need to experiment. Mobile's moving even faster than the web. Some people have said that mobile versus web adoption is 2x, 3x as fast. There's a stat from the Google presenter earlier about the amount of web versus mobile search and how quickly it's growing. One thing to point out is that January of this year was the first year that more non-PC devices were sold than PCs. So iPads, smartphones finally surpassed PC and laptop sales. Really remarkable in terms of thinking about how important it is to provide a value offering on those other platforms. So are there ROI metrics for check-ins? The answer is yes. We did a lot of research and we found a digital agency called Allen Gerritsen that has created these different metrics. The ICR, which is impression check-in rate, the URR unlocks redemption rate, the IBR, the impression bounce rate, and then the ABT average view through time. I think one of the reasons it's so important to try and look for ROI metrics is to try and start generating ways to track and figure out if there's value behind the kind of application that you're investing in. It is hard to track. And Foursquare, for example, provides vendors with these kinds of stats, whether it's total daily check-ins over time, recent visitors, frequent visitors. Again, kind of going to that same kind of traditional loyalty concept in tracking, looking more at frequency, kinds of people, not really getting to the next step, which is creating a way to track by UDID or by user account and attach across their social presence and really finally knit together the various elements that we're already doing in the online world, cookie-based marketing, so to speak, and tie that into the offline world. Redemptions. This is actually from the merchant platform, and I feel like I'm beating up on them. We do love them. They're from Boston, and we're Boston guys, so I hope they don't take this personally if they see it. The interesting thing is that there really isn't a set redemption mechanism. You have to go and do it on your own. When you're doing checkouts, you can create very, very detailed, powerful dashboards that show everything from scans through conversion of each individual user. You can see the check-ins when they activate the application. And this is just an example, one example I think of many that will come, of how powerful it is to know that information. I think I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go very quickly on these last few. Being able to solve the top 6 reasons that people abandon with checkout applications, you can actually help with the displays in the sense that people are less likely to abandon and stuff items into the aisles on the way out. You can provide price or information. You can provide real-time coupons with redemption. You can provide that kind of unique sales associate experience that you've worked so hard to train your associates to do, but you can provide it in a very repeatable format with digital information. You can solve out-of-stock items by allowing them to purchase from the e-commerce site in the middle of the store, and you can actually help compress the checkout line. And just kind of my overall point that I think I've been hitting on again and again is, can we use check-ins to drive checkouts? And I think the answer is absolutely yes. And Dennis Crowley actually said it's about creating value after the check-in. And the best practices that are going to evolve are going to incorporate using these third-party applications to drive adoption of store-based tools, in our opinion, of course. Any questions? I'm sorry?
We actually have like 15 more minutes.
Oh, great.
So
Okay.
Does any questions? If you have any questions, raise your hands. I actually have a question. I think it's something that I talked to you or your assistant about, or maybe even read about. When people check out, is there a concern that they're going to steal, or that inventory, is there going to be a problem with that if they're not going through and actually checking out and putting their stuff in a bag? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the U.S., I think what we're doing at Aislebuyer seems very, very unique. If I can point out a couple of hardware corollaries, we like to think about hardware a lot because we think one of the exciting things about smartphones is being able to shift the cost of hardware from manufacturers or retailers and put that on the consumer by allowing them to use their own device. So a couple of systems that currently exist that have already solved the same problem, and admittedly we've solved it in a very similar way. One is in use at a company called Stop and Shop. It's a scan gun where you can buy these. They basically sell $80,000 Motorola installs into each of these stores. They've now adopted into over 300 stores. I'll let you guys do the math on that. But a lot of money has gone into buying these guns that you can walk up to a rack of them. You can scan your loyalty card, grab the gun, and then this is the fun part. You'll actually see people walking around in the aisle, cell phone in one hand, gun in the other, pushing the trolley with their arms, and and they're scanning. And it's great, actually. They've had some great adoption metrics out of that, very similar to what we've seen with mobile devices, which, just to give you an idea of how important this is, so back to the 95/5 e-com to offline split, mobile adoption that we've seen and also seen by these hardware companies is double digit. So we've seen 12% in our first stores. They've seen 15% adoption from consumers coming into the store. We saw 12% in our first 5 months in the first chain we powered. It's just remarkable. Basically, a little over 40% of smartphone users, when the checkout line gets beyond a certain length, immediately start adopting. They'll just pull out their phone, if they have an iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry, download the application, zap their items, and then tap and pay. And the really fun thing about doing mobile self-checkout is now we're not paying consumers in the form of ever-increasing coupons and loyalty dollars to adopt a new technology. Instead, we're getting them to adopt this technology by giving them back time. So.
I don't know if that was...
Let me give you
Ken Tarwood from Lady Cree International. I don't know that you answered her question.
About the hardware?
At
Okay,
all.
let me.
So I'm going to ask it again.
Yeah, much more detailed. Okay.
Specifically, how are retailers that are adopting this preventing stuff like shrink and theft and that kind of stuff?
So to go to the hardware example, that's very similar to the. It's actually almost identical to what we're doing with phones. So when you finish scanning with your hardware device, you come to the edge of the store and you actually you connect the device to the register. In the same way, you can connect the mobile phone to the register, and basically the cart contents that you've scanned is transferred across that register. You can do a payment there, and then, of course, that transaction, if you've ever been to a self-checkout company or anybody employing self-checkout, they'll have an auditor that's actually monitoring the registers. So there are as many as, it's usually one auditor for every 4 to 6 registers. Again, looking at those registers, the registers cost between $60,000 and $80,000 per register. So an install of 6 registers may run, something like 300 plus grand. It's pretty incredible that despite the cost of the hardware for kind of that self-checkout with gun solution, Stop & Shop has seen the value in rolling it out across the enterprise. They actually claim that they can pay off all of the hardware costs in the first 14 months. Just think about that same value prop, but being able to apply that without the hardware costs. And so it's very similar in terms of how the audit and the checkout procedure happens. In our system in particular, when you hit pay and you go through the payment process, it tells you that you need to stop at what we call a show and go station. And you go to the show and go station, and the auditor may or may not audit you. We audit about 5% of the time. So about 95% of people are instantly line busted and out the door. They get a green light. The other thing that's really unique about mobile phones and unique identifiers like the UDID is that we can capture whether or not you successfully passed an audit, and then we can feed that back into the loop for all the stores in the network so that they can all help prevent loss.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.